I want to go to Timor-Leste, which I think is very interesting. His arrest and deportation drew a lot of attention to international legal protocols. Do you think there were irregularities there, or was it right on the book? What happened, the deportation of the former congressman?
Definitely, and this is not my opinion alone, but in fact, I have news to the effect that the Parliament of Timor-Leste is now investigating as to why Mr. Teves was repatriated forcefully via a collusion with the Timor-Leste Executive Department and the government of the Philippines, when there is a final and executory court ruling from the highest court of Timor-Leste, the Tribunal de Recursos, prohibiting the extradition of Mr. Teves. They say that, and there is a provision in the Constitution of Timor-Leste that, as I was made aware of, which prohibits any orders contrary to a final and executory decision of the courts in Timor-Leste. So it has become quite a matter of great controversy, not only in Timor-Leste, but as you've said, in international legal circles, especially human rights groups.
Actually, kung titignan mo, parang they have also previously ruled on this in favor of extradition. There were two rulings favoring extradition, and the third one was taking that back. No? And Justice Remulla was quoted to have said that they have a very young judicial system. It is not yet mature, and they are figuring things out along the way. So could it have been, a legal prerogative by the Timor-Leste government to think of the former congressman as a national security threat, and to have deported him, and that was legal, within their legal means to do so?
First of all, it is unseemly for a government official of our country to be making criticisms of the legal system of another country, especially a country with which we have diplomatic relations. That's uncalled for and very undiplomatic. But of course, that's Boying Remulla. What do we expect? Anyway, with respect to that, of course, the executive department of Timor-Leste has every right to think that there is a security risk. However, that opinion cannot prevail over a final and executory judgment of its own courts. It's not even the court of the Philippines or any other court. Because if they contravene the mandate of their own courts, that destroys or severely dilutes the separation of powers. That is also applicable with respect to the Timor-Leste Constitution.
But he also had no papers. He had no visa. He had a canceled passport. So technically, wala po siyang papeles. Undocumented alien po siya dun.
Nonetheless,
was his asylum granted?
Well, nonetheless, his asylum is under process. But there is a principle in law applicable everywhere, because this is based on Roman law. Therefore, it is of universal application that you cannot do indirectly what the law does not allow you to do directly. And what the court of Timor-Leste has prohibited is the repatriation or extradition of Mr. Teves. By deporting him, in effect, he has been extradited to the Philippines.
But wasn't that also the decision of the Timor-Leste government? In effect, it was a rejection of that asylum application.
Nonetheless, there is still a court order. There is a process by which you reject an asylum application, and that is by informing you that it has been rejected, because that rejection may still be subject to appeal again to the courts. That's why there is a judicial system. It operates as a check on the actions of the executive. The principles, the bedrock principles of the Timor-Leste court, of the Timor-Leste Constitution, is basically the same as ours, although it is parliamentary.
Kahit hindi po siya citizen ng Timor-Leste?
Yes, because the laws of a country apply not only to the citizens of that country, but to all those who sojourn.
How could this have happened legally? If he was deemed as a security threat by the government there, paano po dapat tumakbo yun?
Well, there are other ways by which that a supposed security threat may be neutralized. He may be placed under house arrest. He may be put under surveillance legally by the security forces of Timor-Leste. But definitely, he should not have been deported because that is tantamount to an extradition which was prescribed by a final and executory order of the Timor-Leste court.
Sabi nyo nga